Are you seeing a trend where crowdfunding campaigns are maybe a little harder to reach these days successfully than maybe they were when crowdfunding was still relatively new, 2010 era? Does it seem like people are setting unrealistic goals because they're seeing higher...
Maybe. I think early adopters usually have a plan. You know what I'm saying? I think if you're gonna jump, if you see Kickstarter, like we did when we saw the Starmind record, we said, great, we can get $2,000 and do a web series with that. You know, that was a couple years ago that we did that. Maybe, it was a little while. Anyway, it wasn't today. And the point is, we saw it, we had a need for it, thank God someone made it, and now we're gonna do it. And I think enough people have done that and been successful with that, where people who don't have a plan are saying, I can get money for free? Whoa, that's great! Which is how Kickstarter sells themselves, because they want clients. Which makes sense, except no, it's an investment. It's a lot of work. I've seen constantly on Film Courage blogs about how much work it is, and just, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I've made these rules that make it work, and I've made those rules that make it work. And at the end of the day, it goes back to investing in your audience and building that community and building that communication. It's all community building. Community building and branding, guys, are two different things. Hollywood is learning this lesson the hard way right now. Branding you can do in 3 months, and you have to spend at least $20 million to do it. And you can get people to do whatever you say, to a degree, to a point, by spending that money. You get all the billboards up, and you're like, come see Avengers. Oh, good idea. And you keep seeing it, and you walk into the theater and you go do it. Of course, even Avengers, you gotta give Marvel credit, because they've been building that audience for 40 years, guys. That 40-year investment is what made that movie possible, not the $200 million. It's the fact that people have been reading about Iron Man non-stop, and Marvel's been communicating with these guys at comic books, and letters to the editor have been a constant thing in Marvel Comics since the 70s. People have been talking to the people who create Captain America since the 70s, you guys. So, going back to your point about social media, guess what? Like, Marvel didn't even get to not do it. Disney didn't even get to not do it. They've been doing it for decades, and that is what lets them go out and make $1 billion in ticket sales. So, branding is the idea that you can buy that. Community is the idea that you can build it. Building it takes at least 2 years. It's how long it took Paranormal Activity, it's how long it took, people don't realize this, but as I recall, Napoleon Dynamite was picked up 3 weeks after it was in theaters by Fox Searchlight. Why? Per screen averages. They were making money per screen. Fox said, wow, this movie's doing really well compared to Sideways. I want that money. And so they picked it up and put some more money into it. 2 years of road showing, 2 years of communicating with the audience after the film was finished in both cases. Same thing for Ink. Ink's a great little movie, you know, and nobody knew how much demand that movie had until it was leaked on Pirate Bay. That's a whole story that is out there on the internet if you want to look for it, but at the end of the day, they roadshowed, festivals, and then the day before their DVD release, or 2 or 3 the weekend before their DVD, it shows up on Pirate Bay. And all of a sudden, it gets downloaded 400,000 times and translated into Croatian. I'm not even kidding. And all of a sudden, Amazon and Blockbuster and the other one? Amazon, Blockbuster, Netflix are like increasing their order by multiples. And they get this big fat Hulu deal. That was one of the first movies picked up by Hulu, if you recall. Why? Because people watched it, because there was an audience for it. They didn't know the audience was there to that degree until it was leaked, because it was the downloads that showed them. But it was the 2 years that did it. 2 years of non-stop. And I'm here to tell you, asking people for money as a community, same problem. Go in with a long-term plan. You know, I'm going to get $200,000 this month is only feasible if that community is already in place and it's thriving and people are waiting for you to ask them, which most of us are not.